Hi, this is Lucia with Online Coping Skill, and I'm bringing you another skill for when you're feeling down. So if you've been in therapy before, actually if you've worked on a treatment plan, this might sort of be familiar to you, but we're going to talk about scaling your feelings. So I like to use 1 to 10. You could use 1 to 20, 1 to 100, 1 to 50, 1 to a million, whatever kind of works for you. And the idea is that you're going to sort of check in with yourself. It could be once a day or throughout the day to see kind of how you are feeling. So I'm going to sort of delve in and sort of give an example of how to use this skill, and I'm going to do 1 to 10. So you wake up, you're feeling really sad or depressed. Maybe you don't physically feel good. Maybe you didn't sleep well last night. Maybe you had a nightmare or your head hurts, and you wake up and you think, oh, you know what, my depression today, this is like a 9. This is a rough one. So you're going to sort of think about how you're feeling. That might be you wake up and you automatically self-check and know. It might be that you need to do a mindfulness or grounding or some deep breathing to kind of get an awareness of where you're at. But try to sort of pick a number and sort of use the scale. So that's sort of the step 1, is to use the scale. It could be done throughout the day, once a day, first thing in the morning. I find a lot of people find it a little bit easier to kind of remember and to work on. So in this example, waking out of bed, headache, didn't sleep, exhausted, was crying for most of the night, feeling at an 8. 8 out of 10, 8. It's a rough morning, not feeling really good, really sitting in it. So think about what it would feel like if you felt like a 7. So if your depression was just a smidge lower, we're not trying to get rid of it, we're not trying to eliminate mental illness in the world, but just a 7. So if you feel like an 8 and you're really struggling, what would a 7 look like? What would be different between an 8 and a 7? Would it be a little bit more motivation to get out of bed? Would it be the headache goes away? Would it be, taking a shower today? Or kind of being on time to work as opposed to kind of maybe like lulling around for a while? But would that one difference make? And if you feel comfortable, sort of check in. Okay, that would be that I'm actually going to be on time to work, which is in 45 minutes, and that I'm going to, take a shower and put on clean clothes and drink a cup of coffee and head out the door. Well, if that's what gets you from an 8 to a 7, maybe that's a good idea thing to try. And it might be a small step is, putting on clean clothes, putting on new pajamas, but kind of looking at what would an 8 and a 7 look like. What would the difference be? And if that feels comfortable, maybe check in with yourself later on. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm at work. I'm engaged in the work that I'm doing. I'm staying busy. My mind is staying occupied. Still feeling kind of crummy, so I'm feeling like a 6, but I'm sort of at it. At that point, you could say, well, what would a 5 look like? So feel free. The idea also is not to kind of keep pushing yourself every hour. Okay, I'm at a 3. Let's keep going. I mean, the idea is this is not a race to sort of get to 0 either. But just to kind of think about where you are at is also really helpful for a lot of people. It also helps gauge what skills you use. If today you wake up and you're like at a 9.5, that might be using some crisis skills. That might be using very different skills. And if you wake up and you're like, I'm at a 4, it's kind of crummy, but I'm getting out of bed, I'm doing this, and this. It might also help if you are able to gauge how you're feeling and what skills you're able to utilize, whether they're skills from this course or skills that you have in general. Is this a day where you're at a 9 and you're going to spend the entire time on your couch in your pajamas watching a movie, and that's going to be your distraction skill? Or are you feeling at a 3 and maybe you're gonna, listen to a mindfulness to get you flowing and get you out of bed and start the day and go to work and feel at a 3 throughout the day. So try to sort of gauge where you're at. That could mean different things to different people. It also might take a while to kind of figure out where you're at. I've worked with a lot of people who say like every day feels like a 9, and that is potentially true. You could feel every day a 9, but there's probably parts of the day, if your whole day is a 9, there's probably parts that you feel like an 8 or a 7, maybe even like a 4 or 5. So sort of recognize like, it was a really rough morning, but like right now, taking that shower and getting dressed, I'm feeling a little bit more like a 4 right now. And sort of notice what makes the number goes down. Is it getting up and taking a shower? I know that I use that example a lot. Is it, doing something for someone else? Is it reaching out and calling a friend to check in? Hey, really not doing so well. can you talk to me for a little bit? Or like, hey, maybe it's volunteering, maybe it's going to church or temple or mosque or performing some religious task, maybe it's giving back to the community. Maybe it's as simple as just starting the day with some schedule, a cup of coffee, reading the newspaper, avoiding certain things on the internet, avoiding certain people in your life. It could be, different things that you're doing differently. So also trying to gauge when you are feeling a little bit lower on the scale, what is different? Is it you struggle really bad on the weekends, but the weekdays you're at work, you're moving, you're jiving, getting stuff done, task-oriented, too busy to even think about anything else. Monday to Friday you do great. Friday night you might kind of fall off. So sort of think about what times of day, is it around food, and kind of start gauging how you're feeling. You don't need to fix how you're feeling either. If you're feeling at a 7, you might just need to feel like a 7 for now. And also you might feel like an 8 later on. There's no guarantee that it's not going to change, but the idea is to recognize that there is going to be changes, and some of those changes are going to be for the better. They're going to be downward changes, and some of those changes also might be, what would one step different look like? Would this tiny, even half a step, if you feel like an 8, what would a 7.5 be? Is it putting on new pajamas and putting the old pajamas in that big pile in the corner that should be where the hamper is? Do it. Just sort of try to make those steps. Try to do a little comparing, not judging, but comparing kind of today's feelings to yesterday's feelings, or, noon to 2, or that kind of thing. And kind of feel it out. See how it works for you. Some people find journaling. There's diary cards for these courses too, which a lot of people find helpful. So feel free to kind of do what works for you. And if the skill does not work for you, remember, it's not you that failed, it's the skill that failed you. So try it out, try scaling. It's something that you might also want to talk with other mental health professionals you're dealing with, whether it's therapists, counselors, life coaches, pastors, or psychiatrists, and just say, I notice that I feel worse on the weekends, or I notice getting out of bed is really hard, but once I get to work, I feel a little bit better. And sort of feel free to open this conversation up, because there's a list of things that might be going on that will help you kind of go through, one smidge step, one half step to another. So hopefully that skill works for you, and we'll be right back with another skill.